Hello, art teacher here with you again, and I'm back after my little summer hiatus. And I know I said I'd do one video per week, and I fell short on that, and my apologies. Be sure to do your subscriptions, your likes, and all the YouTube stuff that they have for you. Want to talk about an artist named Henri Rousseau, and that's how you spell it. I know it's a French name, so maybe it phonetically it's a little different than how it's spelled, so that's why I put that up there. And if you type that into Google and hit images on the top of Google, you'll see a lot of pictures of jungle scenes. And that's specifically what I'm talking about, are Henri Rousseau jungle scenes. Now, for copyright reasons, I try not to show images of other artists' work, and I would call it an extreme caution regarding that. So you're going to have to go ahead and look at that on your Google Images instead of me showing you that here. Sorry, but I do respect the copyright issue, especially with other artists and so forth. Now, what I want to talk about today, this will probably be a three-part series. We're going to make drawings of jungle scenes with a wild animal, similar to what Henri Rousseau did. And there's three main parts to that. Drawing the jungle are the plants, and that's what we'll do today. Drawing the animals in that naive or folk art style that he had. And then using all those different types of green that he put into his jungle. So for today, let's go right into the drawing the plants thing in the style of Henri Rousseau. Now it's not a realistic style, that's for sure, as you'll see when you look it up. It's a childlike or naive style. Naive, I don't mean that in a pejorative or to put him down, but that's just how it's classified, you know. Now, when we're drawing plants in that way, there's a few ideas that I want to communicate, and I have three examples and three little types of plants that I'd like you to try. So what you'll need is a pencil. In this case, I'm using a mechanical pencil. I find them to be very convenient for this type of thing. We're doing little detailed things, so it's nice to have a mechanical pencil. A sharp, nicely sharpened regular pencil will work well also. So, you need a paper and a pencil for today. It's just a practice part. This is just a practice part. Be sure to put a little time into it, you know, and practice this. So I got a half a sheet of paper and a pencil. Number one, I want to talk about drawing a branch in the style of that artist. So we're just going to do, so you can simply draw, it's like a line coming up, stopping, and then coming back. Just a little branch like that. And in terms of the size of it on your paper, maybe a little bigger than your finger. So, I don't know, something like this might be what we're looking for in terms of size. And then I want to go ahead and make some leaves coming off of it. Again, we're not really going for very realistic looking leaves. This is in the naive style of Henri Rousseau. So, one thing I'm doing though is I have a little stem on it. Try to avoid making the leaf just go straight into the tree like that. No, no, no. So I'm going to erase that because that's not how we're doing it. Instead, make a little stem in between the leaf and the branch. And when you do the leaf, it's this stem part comes straight up, and then do a half circle here, half circle there. You can kind of curve it around a little, make it look organic, like a real leaf. Then, continue with those, but here's the thing that I would have you do. And if you're working with your child, make sure they're doing this. Gotta have the overlapping on this. Overlapping is what's going to make this work good. So by overlapping, I mean this. Here I have a leaf. This second leaf is going to go behind that first one. So it's going to stop at the edge, come out the other side, and then come back around. That means that one's in front and that one's behind it. Okay? Now I'll just do a few more leaves here. No, I made that one without a stem. So I'm going to erase that. I'm going to be sure to make the stem first. Then have a little overlapping. There it goes. See? It stops at the edge, comes out the other side. That's called overlapping. What I'm going to do here is put a little red dot where it stops and where it comes back out. Because I want to be super clear about your overlapping. And I want you to continue to do this and add more and more of these leaves all the way across the branch on the top and on the bottom. So, here we go. And we'll have this done in no time at all. Doing the bottom leaves first, then you could have them get smaller as they go out. You don't have to because it is a naive style, but you could have them get smaller as they go out if you'd like to. Now, let's try to get some on top. And again, normally the leaves wouldn't stick up straight up like this and defy gravity, but in the case of this artist, since it's a naive style and not a realistic style, it actually adds a little bit to it to have them stick in more, you know, having them stick straight up. And if I look closely at Rousseau's art, I can find examples where, yes, the leaves do stick straight up like that. That's kind of part of what he did. So we're going to go ahead and be true to his, what they call naive or childlike style that he kind of pioneered. He was really one of the first major artists to break through in that style. And I heard something, now I think this is true, I heard a friend of mine who's an artist say this. Rousseau had an art show in Picasso, Pablo Picasso, the great Spanish artist. He was present at that art show, and Rousseau said to him, "We're two of the greatest artists in the world. You in the Egyptian style, and me in the modern style." And it gave me insight into just what a kind of peculiar fellow this Henri Rousseau is, that's how he saw things and defined them. Now, there I have the branch with the leaves pointing up and down. I know that's not realistic, but it fits in with his, what he called, quote, modern style or naive style. Now, toward the bottom of his pictures, he often has these thick, sort of grass-like pieces coming up from the bottom. So there I would have one, and maybe I'll have a few of them running exactly right next to it like that, and then maybe I'll have one curving around, going a little higher in this case, and maybe going behind those three. There's one, and maybe I'll put a couple or three more together like this. And these are the grasses that come up from the bottom of the page. And how that can look on your paper when you do it, I'll draw out a little example here. And it's going to look just about like it does behind me there. And this will just take me a quick second. Take me a quick second to draw this out for you. And again, this will have, later on when we get into the color pencil part of the assignment, there will be a great varieties of different shades and tints of greens and types of greens. So you can see here, this would go across a large part of the bottom of the page on many, the bottom of the picture plane or the picture on many of his artworks. That type of thing would. So also what he did sometimes is he would make the outside part be a slightly different shade or tint. So here you'll see on this last one, there's a little double line, and he'd put a slightly different shade or tint on that. And we'll talk more about that later. So, there's two things that I would like you to practice. Try to practice the branch with the leaves on it, like that. Also try to practice this kind of stuff along the bottom of the picture plane, all the way across. And what you're doing here are these grasslands, are these grasses that come up from the bottom, like that. Sometimes several of them together, sometimes just one. So just practice that and get a feel for it. And try looking at Google Images and seeing how he did that. Here's another interesting little plant type thing that I see in his fantasy world that he does. And it would be something like this. Maybe a large sort of stem type structure that pulls up out of the bottom of the page, or the ground in his case. And it would have a very broad leaf like this. Better grab a better marker. And it has that broad leaf. That's a big leaf, maybe like you'd see on a banana plant or something. And there's another one, and as you know, I always try to get a little overlapping in on this. That's going to be an important part of the look. You see? That's where it stops, that's where it comes out. So I do have some overlapping on these broadleaf examples. Try to draw some of these types also, get some practice on it. That's going to help you to make the jungle scene, again, in the style of Henri Rousseau. So this goes here, maybe get some coming out the other side. Again, I'm not worried about making them pretty big. That's kind of what he did with these large leaf plants, including some overlapping. That one goes right behind everything. There it goes. There's one. Here's one that goes behind it. I'll make that one smaller than. Anyway, that kind of plant. Give a try with that. So we have three things to practice. The branches with leaves, including overlapping. The tall grasses that come up from the bottom of the page. And then this kind of plant, which is just like a stem with large leaves. And if you look close and you go to Google Images and look at his work, you'll see these appear. These are common images. So that's three. And once you practice those, and I mean by practice, like fill a page with that. Fill a whole page with that kind of stuff so that you can do it quickly and it looks good. That's always what I'm trying to do, is develop facility in my students. In other words, trying to get them to develop a skill level to work quickly and still have it look good. And there's no shortcut. You've got to spend time and do it. And the spending time on doing it is, for most people who do art, that's the enjoyable part. That's what we like to do. So try to spend some time on this kind of branch, this kind of plant, and the grasses. And once you do that and get a large page filled with that, then pull out a fresh sheet and try to come up with your own kind of plants, not copying what Rousseau did, but maybe in the style of Rousseau. Keep the overlapping, keep the naive look. You're not going for a realistic plant here. Maybe some flower type structures on there. So you're coming up with your own creative ideas. But don't jump ahead. Don't start doing your own right away. Number one, look him up and look at his pictures on the Google Images. Look close at him and think about what he's doing with those plants. Number two, do this kind. Number three, do the grasses from the bottom, then do one like this, or several like this, fill the whole page with that. Only after you've done all that should you be grabbing another paper and just making up your own sort of jungle plants from that fantasy world that Henri Rousseau was pointing us to back so many, 100 years ago or a century ago, whatever. Well, that pretty much does it. Next time, that's the plants. Next time I want to talk about drawing the animals and thinking in terms of how Rousseau did those animals and how we can include that kind of fantasy or naive feel in our drawings too. So this is just step one, okay? We got 2 more videos to go on this. Be sure to grab yourself a pencil and paper and have fun with it. That's the whole thing. You should be enjoying doing art. It's big fun. Okay, take care. Thanks.